I never liked long drives at night, but that road was the only way home. I had left later than planned, much later. It was already past midnight when I turned onto the highway that cut straight through the desert. No lights, no gas stations, no exits for miles, just road. At first, everything felt normal. The engine sounded fine. The radio worked, the sky was clear, and the moon was bright enough to see the outlines of the hills in the distance. About 30 minutes in, my phone lost signal. I didn't think much of it. That happens out there. Then the radio cut out. Not static, just silence. I tapped it, turned the knob, switched stations. Nothing. I told myself it was coincidence. A few minutes later, I noticed headlights behind me, far back, keeping distance. They stayed there longer than expected. Didn't pass, didn't fall back, just stayed. I sped up a little. They sped up too. I slowed down. They matched me again. That's when I started to feel uneasy. I checked my mirrors. The headlights looked old, yellow, uneven, one slightly higher than the other, like an older car or something heavier. After a while, they drifted to the other lane. I relaxed, expecting them to pass. They didn't. They stayed right next to me. No window rolled down, no horn, no signal. Just a dark shape beside my car. I couldn't see the driver. I sped up again. This time, they slowed down. I passed them. Relief washed over me. For about 10 seconds. Then I saw the headlights again. In front of me. Impossible. There was no exit, no turnoff, no space for them to pass. But there they were, leading me now. I slammed the brakes slightly, heart racing. The car ahead slowed too, like it was waiting. I thought about turning around. That's when my dashboard lights flickered. Once, twice, then stabilized. The road signs started to look wrong. Distances didn't make sense. Exit numbers repeated. I passed the same sign twice, then a third time. I knew I should stop, but something in my gut told me not to. The car ahead suddenly turned off its headlights, vanished. The road was empty again. I laughed nervously, telling myself I was tired, seeing things. That's when I heard it. A knock. Inside the car. 3 taps. From the back seat. I froze. I didn't look back. My hands clenched the steering wheel so hard they hurt. The knock came again, closer, slower. I whispered, "Hello?" The radio turned on by itself. Not music, a voice. Distorted. Low. "Don't stop." The knocking stopped. The headlights appeared again in my mirror. Closer now, much closer. So close I could see the reflection of my own car in their glass. I pressed the gas. The engine screamed. The speedometer climbed higher than I'd ever pushed it on that road. The headlights stayed with me. No matter how fast I went, then my phone lit up. No signal, no service, but a notification, an incoming call from my own number. I didn't answer. The phone kept ringing, vibrating violently in the cup holder. The call stopped. A message appeared. "You missed the turn," I screamed, and threw the phone onto the passenger seat. The road ahead suddenly narrowed. Trees appeared where there had been nothing before. The desert was gone. The headlights were gone. I was alone again, breathing hard, shaking. Then I saw it. A wooden sign on the side of the road, hand-painted, weathered. It read, "Turn back." I didn't. I kept driving. And that was my second mistake. I kept driving, ignoring the wooden sign. My hands were sweaty, my knuckles white from gripping the wheel so tight. The road twisted unnaturally. Hills appeared that hadn't been there before, and the moon seemed lower, casting shadows that weren't normal. Then I saw the car again, far ahead. Not behind me this time. Waiting. I slowed down. They didn't move. Just stayed perfectly still, headlights off. I turned my head slightly to check the mirrors. No reflection of them behind me now. Only empty desert, or what should have been desert. A gust of wind slammed the door. The sound of scraping metal echoed from the back seat. I froze. The knocking came again. 3 taps. This time from the passenger side. I looked. No one was there. I tried to convince myself it was exhaustion, hallucination, something logical. Nothing made sense. The road split suddenly. 2 paths. Both looked equally dark. Both led into a wall of trees that shouldn't exist. I slammed the brakes, and my heart pounded so hard, I thought it would break ribs. I took the left path. Something inside told me it was safer. Wrong choice. The trees closed in, shadows stretching across the windshield like hands trying to grab the car. Branches scraped the roof, leaving deep gouges in the paint. Then the engine cut out. Nothing. Dead silence. The car rolled to a stop. I tried turning the key. Nothing. Then I heard it. Footsteps. Outside the car. Circling. Slow. Deliberate. I grabbed the door handle. Locked. I whispered to myself, it's just animals. Just animals. Then I heard breathing. Heavy. Right next to the window. I couldn't move. Couldn't think. A voice came from the shadows. Low. Distorted. Familiar, but wrong. Finally! You're here! The branches scraped harder against the car. I tried the engine again. Nothing. I screamed, pounded on the wheel. Nothing. Then, without warning, headlights appeared behind me. Not the same car, a newer one. Bright, white. Seemed almost normal. I unlocked the doors instinctively. The headlights from before were gone. I floored it, tires spinning on the dirt. The white lights followed me, guiding me. The other, whatever it was, disappeared into the shadows. I drove like that for hours, following the white lights, never daring to look back. Finally, the trees thinned. The desert returned. The road became normal asphalt again. I pulled into a gas station, hands shaking, heart racing. I looked around. Nothing. Empty desert. No cars. No lights. My phone turned on by itself. Full signal. Several missed calls. I checked the time. Hours had passed. Minutes felt like days. I never took that route again. And I never forgot the way the road seemed alive that night, watching me, waiting. The sun was just starting to rise when I finally reached the highway leading back to town. My hands were numb from gripping the wheel, my mind racing with everything that had happened. But the strangest part, everything looked normal again. Asphalt, road signs, desert, stretching into the horizon. Nothing out of place. I pulled into a diner to get coffee, hoping to calm down. The place was empty except for the night shift waitress who barely looked at me as I sat. I tried to explain, but my voice sounded shaky. And I didn't even finish a single sentence before she walked away. The car felt heavy, almost solid, with dread. As I left the diner and started driving the last stretch to my apartment, every shadow along the road seemed to move when I wasn't looking. Every tree looked like it was leaning toward me. I told myself it was over, that the road, the lights, the knocking, it was all some dream. But when I pulled into my apartment parking lot, I froze. My car headlights, illuminated tire tracks, more than one set, circling the lot, leading nowhere. I wasn't the only one who had driven that road last night. I jumped out, checking my mirrors, but there was no car behind me. Nothing. Only the empty lot. The next morning, I checked the news. Nothing. No accidents, no reports. Nothing about missing people. Nothing about strange vehicles or lights. I went back to the road during the day, trying to find where it had started, hoping for some explanation. I never found it. The dirt road that should have led into the forest ended abruptly at a flat desert plain. No hills, no cabin, no forest, nothing. I called the owner to complain. He laughed. "You took the night route," he said. "It always takes people somewhere else first, but the road knows." I didn't ask for clarification. I didn't want it. Months later, I learned that 2 other drivers had vanished on that same stretch of highway. Completely. No traces. No witnesses. Just gone. I started having dreams, not nightmares exactly, but dreams where the road stretches endlessly, where headlights appear in my mirrors, and knocks come from the back seat, and distorted voices whisper my name. I can't drive that road at night anymore. Not even close. And sometimes, when I'm alone, I think I hear scratching beneath my floorboards, in the walls. Quiet at first, almost polite. Then faster, louder, circling, waiting. I keep telling myself it's nothing. Just memories, just fear. But I know the road still waits, and I know that one day, if I'm not careful, it will call me back. Yesterday morning, I was unfortunate enough to suffer a power cut. And spending my day in total darkness isn't something I enjoy. I ended up wandering around town throughout the day to kill some time. After spending a few hours in my old university, I decided I should get a hotel for me and my dog. As the power outage was expected to last a few days, and we live in the South, where no AC can be a big issue, I finally managed to find somewhere nearby that will book me and my pup, without costing us a few arms and legs. Sand. That's when everything started to go downhill. I would need to get a cab from my old school back home, and then to the hotel. Everything is within 3 miles of each other, and I figured it would be simple. I wasn't aware that there was a late graduation ceremony going on. So every time I tried to call a cab, they wouldn't show up, or someone else would take them. When the sun was starting to set, I found somebody who was a previous classmate of mine. They gave me a ride home, and I packed up my stuff. I called another cab, and lo and behold, it didn't feel like coming. And since my Uber wasn't working, I decided I would take my bag, my paw bands, myself, and walk my happy butt mile or so to the hotel so that she could have a good rest. I start walking, and about 1/4 of the way there, I hear somebody behind me entering my nightmare, a 6-foot-something brick house of a person with a grisly look about them. They looked me up and down and said, "Hey there, girl. Where are you going?" Now, let it be known, I am new to this area, and I'm from the middle of nowhere, and this is horrifying to me. I decided my options were to be incredibly polite or to run screaming. So, I fell back on politeness. After rejecting him, taking my bags multiple times, he stated he was walking to the place right next to my hotel. So I decided I would try to humanize myself as much as possible and keep a dialogue going between us. He asked me questions about family and friends and why I was here. I made up a bit of a story that I had family and I was here for graduation, so that it seemed like I had people who would know I was expected. Shortly after this, he reaches into his pocket and says, "You might need this." As he hands me a small knife, not knowing what to say, I thank him a few times. Moments later, he is talking to himself before looking at me and inviting me to live with his niece and her boyfriend. Internally, I'm screaming. I know I could do nothing. This guy has at least 1.5 feet on me, and I'm exhausted. We continue walking as he tells me he gets a good vibe from me, and he could see us in a relationship and with a family. He keeps muttering to himself about tons of stuff, people and girls. It was very hard to make out. He then looks at me and says, "I had an epiphany," and I said, "Oh." He just smiled and did a head shake and kind of chuckled to himself, muttering, "Good night. I figure it's all right." We're about halfway there, and I'm holding a conversation, listening to how he went to prison for 2 years over a gun, and how Snoop Dogg dedicated his song to him. Got to a very dark part of the walk, and he looks at somebody walking towards us and pushes me to the side of the sidewalk that is away from the street and says, "You walk here now, because you're mine now, little girlie." Suddenly, people walking to their cars from graduation walk past us. I feel safer, and I know I'm home free. As we approach the hotel parking lot, he asks if he can join me. I make up some excuse about how it's only booked for one person, and it's not in my values. He follows me into the lobby, then follows me to the front desk. I'm told I can't stay because I'm 20, not 21, and they had a recent policy change. My heart sinks. He's attached to my side, and I can't tell anyone. I'm terrified. I see a worker at another desk and say, "I'm going to the bathroom." I whisper to her, "Please, can I talk to you somewhere? I'm in a small emergency." She escorts me away, and I explain that he's been following me. She has me sit down, and he's trying to talk to another person, to using their ID for what he is now calling our room. A woman employee walks over and says, "Do you know this girl?" And he replies, baffled, "Yeah, this is my girl. We've known each other for years." She looks at him and asks my name. "She's my girl," he says. She tells me if he doesn't leave the lobby, police will be called. Turns out that she's a bartender, and she sits me down and ends up helping me get to my room, and I fully intend to thank her and the other woman properly. After an hour of sitting in the bar and her negotiating my stay, she looks at me and says, "If you..." We rented the cabin because it was cheap, and because it was far from everything. No neighbors, no traffic, no cell signal, just forest. The owner met us at a small gas station just before sunset. He was older than I expected, wearing a heavy jacket even though it wasn't cold. He handed us the keys and looked at us for a long moment before speaking. "Once it gets dark," he said, "stay inside." That was it. No explanation, no smile. We laughed it off after he left. People always exaggerate when it comes to places like this. Old cabins, old stories. The drive to the house took another 20 minutes down a narrow dirt road. Trees closed in on both sides so tightly that the sky slowly disappeared. By the time we reached the cabin, the sun was already touching the treetops. The house was small, wooden, crooked in places, like it had grown there instead of being built. The air smelled damp, old wood, something metallic underneath. Inside, everything was quiet except for the floorboards. Every step creaked, even when nobody was moving. There were 3 rooms, 1 bathroom, a living area with a fireplace we didn't plan to use. The windows didn't have curtains. That bothered me more than it should have. The first hour passed normally. We unpacked, joked, talked about dumb stuff. Someone even made a joke about horror movies and how this was exactly how they start. Then night fell. Not slowly, all at once. The forest went silent. No insects, no wind, no distant animals, just a heavy, unnatural stillness pressing in from all sides. Around 9, we heard the first knock. 3 slow knocks on the front door. Not loud, not aggressive, just deliberate. We all froze. Nobody moved. Nobody laughed. Another knock followed. Same rhythm, same force. I asked who it was. There was no answer. Instead, we heard footsteps. They weren't on the porch. They were moving around the house. Slow, dragging. Like whoever was walking didn't lift their feet properly. We turned off the lights without saying a word. The footsteps stopped immediately. For a moment, everything felt normal again. Too normal. Then a voice came from outside. It sounded familiar. Too familiar. It sounded exactly like my cousin. Same tone, same way of speaking. It said my name. I looked at him. His face had gone pale. "That's not me," he whispered. The voice continued, calm and friendly. "Open the door. It's freezing out here." The handle moved, just a little, like someone testing it. We backed away. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it would give us away. Then everything stopped. No footsteps, no voice, no movement. We didn't sleep. Sometime after midnight, I noticed something else. The house was settling, not normal creaking. Rhythmic sounds, like pressure being applied, then released. Around 3 in the morning, I heard scratching. Not at the door, not at the windows, under the floor. Something was moving beneath the cabin. Slow circles, back and forth, over and over. We sat completely still until the sky began to lighten. At sunrise, the sound stopped. We packed without speaking and left as fast as we could. As we drove away, I looked back at the cabin one last time. There were footprints around it, bare feet, too many, and none of them led away.